had resulted in so many needless deaths, according to Study Debunks Trump's claims on sanctuary areas. But what relation to these areas do these deaths actually have? Donald Trump and the rest of Americans who fear sanctuaries shouldn't be so worried. According to Lauren Collingwood's article, sanctuary cities do not experience an increase in crime. Several studies have shown that there's actually no significant difference between cities that are sanctuaries and cities that aren't when it comes to crime rates. On GovTrack, it talks about S87, the Stop Dangerous Sanctuary City Act. And what this act would do is restrict federal money given to cities that have sanctuary policies. It would also force law enforcement to work with detainers and give them information from immigrants. According to sanctuary city foes are wrong in seeking to criminalize immigrants. By enacting this act, it would cause a sense of fear and distrust among places that were once sanctuaries and no longer have those policies. And that sense of fear is why I believe we should stop the Stop Dangerous Sanctuary Cities Act. Several articles, including Toomey Continues Fight to Protect Our Communities, as well as Sanctuary Cities Beyond Federal Control, use the example of the shooting of Catherine Steinel by an undocumented immigrant as a reason for why sanctuary cities are dangerous. But they use this one example repeatedly and very often don't give any others, and that proves nothing that the murder was an anomaly and not a trend. Just because one undocumented immigrant performed a violent crime does not make all undocumented immigrants violent criminals. Lauren Collingwood, according to his website, Collingwood Research, is a professor at UC Riverside who studies mainly American politics and specifically race and ethnic politics. And he wrote an article called Sanctuary Cities Do Not Experience an Increase in Crime. And in the article, it talks about his study, which what he performed to find whether or not there was a significant increase in crime before and after a city became a sanctuary. And what the study found was that some cities did have increases in crime, and yet others stayed completely the same, and even others had a decrease in crime. And across the board, when you look at the averages taken among each city of their crime before and after, you find that there is no significant increase in crime rates once you take the average. Such a broad range of effect on crime rates due to a city being a sanctuary shows that there's no consistent relation between sanctuary cities and high crime rates. Another article, It's High Noon for Sanctuary Cities, Cooperate or Lose Funds, uses the example of Chicago and Chicago's high crime rate to describe why sanctuary cities are not good for America because Chicago has such high crime rates. They talk about how there were 61 people shot over Thanksgiving weekend in 2016 and how that led to about 4,000 shootings in the year of 2016, just in Chicago. But the author never states what those shootings have anything to do with the fact that Chicago is a sanctuary. They don't mention that the shootings were done by people with immigration status. There's just no relation, proving the claim to be completely non sequitur because just because Chicago has a high crime rate does not mean that it has anything to do with the fact that Chicago is a sanctuary city. In the article, Sanctuary City Foes Are Wrong in Seeking to Criminalize Immigrants, it talks about how by having sanctuary policies, it can build trust between the immigrant population and law enforcement. And that leads to more crime reporting because of a willingness to work with the police enforcement by immigrants. In the article published by Tampa Bay Times on LexisNexis, it talks about a UC Berkeley study that found that while crime reporting goes up, crime itself actually goes down, and it's all because of increased cooperation among immigrants and the local authorities. Violent criminals is the word used in the article, U.S. Official News article, Toomey Continues Fight to Protect Our Communities. And that term is used to generalize undocumented immigrants. But when you take a look at specific policies, you find that is not in any way, sanctuary policies are not in any way created to help people who have committed violent crimes. According to A Moment of Truth for U.S. Sanctuary Cities, San Francisco, for example, has specific policies that say the only way you can be protected by sanctuary policies is if you have no violent felonies on your record. Another article, Pro-Con Should There Be Sanctuary Cities, also states that you can only be protected by sanctuary policies if you have not committed a specific serious or violent felony. This article also says that in order that the sanctuary policies are really created to help people escape hardships. They aren't created to protect criminals or terrorists, which are words both used by Pat Toomey, who is the senator who supports and created this act, the Stop Dangerous Sanctuary Cities Act. According to Toomey continues fight to protect our communities. Other congressmen, such as Philemon Vila, state in Pro-Con Should There Be Sanctuary Cities that the reason we have sanctuaries are to protect people who contribute positively to our community. It's extremely important that we stop the Stop Dangerous Sanctuary Cities Act in order to protect people living and working hard in America today. According to a report by the Daily News of LA, half of California's 9.5 million immigrants are undocumented. 9.5 million immigrants is a quarter of California's 38 million people. But even more impressively, 1/3 of our state's entire workforce is made up of immigrants, and they contribute a whopping $600 billion to our state's economy. It should be in all of our best interests to not support the Stop Dangerous Sanctuary Cities Act in order to protect the people that work so hard and contribute to our state and our country today. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.